Hello, I'm Tyler Burgess of Eugene, Oregon. Welcome to another video of Walk With Me. And today we are in Portugal, walking the Portuguese Way of St. James to Santiago de Compostela. This is a map of Europe and the trails I have walked that go to Santiago. Over the years, I've walked several of these routes. Today, though, we're walking from Lisbon, Portugal, north to Santiago de Compostela, and we're starting this second part at Coimbra. And Coimbra is this famous university. Founded by one of the kings. There's his statue. This is the entrance to the chapel, which I could go in and take pictures. As you can see, it's very beautiful. And then I'm walking along the route the next day through some neighborhoods. Oh, only 330 kilometers left to get to Santiago de Compostela. These are just sights I see along the way. That red cross you saw originally as a Roman mosaic, and then we see it picked up by the Knights of the Templar as a symbol. Some of the country is very old and kind of dilapidated. This is my trail today, part of it. You can see this was prosperous area at one time, and this man grew up here until he was 10. And then there was a factory here, the socks that made a moped that was very popular, but it couldn't compete with the Asian imports. And his family left and they went to the Bay Area in the United States, and he's come back here to retire. This part of Portugal is famous for its wines. And even at this winery, there's a symbol for the pilgrim. So these are the buildings I just pass along in a single day and take pictures of. Some of them look pretty good, some of them need little TLC. Every day I keep a sketchbook diary, and I'll share some of those with you as we go along. This is one of many statues of St. James. And albergue is a place for the pilgrims to stay. And every morning there's a delivery by a bread truck to the home. It just hangs on the doorknob. This little town had a hat making museum and a tribute to the people who used to make the hats. Parts of the original Roman road are still used for the pilgrim. Here is the Roman road. It was laid out by Tiberius Caesar in about 300 AD. And then I go around the corner and here's somebody's sculpture in their garden. These are old, although currently used, corn cribs, and they're raised here to keep out the rats. Hurricane Leslie has just gone through and people haven't washed their clothes for a few days, and these are public wash areas. I met these two fellow pilgrims, Kyle and Susan, days ago, and you'll see them in my pictures because we kind of leapfrog along the trail. They are from Yakima, Washington. This is the bridge going into Porto, Portugal. And who should I meet on the bridge but Kyle and Susan again? When you walk over the bridge, you can look down in the boats and see barrels. These are barrels of wine that are floated 200 miles down the river to Porto, where they are made into port, and these wine casks are bottled here in Porto, but they come from the vineyards up the river. Went by their very biggest cathedral. I get a pilgrim stamp on my passport here and see a little bit of their history. The next day, I walked along the river watching the fishermen, and I turned right at the coast and walked the coast route. This is still in Porto. This is the coast of the Atlantic Ocean, and the Portuguese had fortified their coast with many of these fortresses. There are some Nordic Viking ruins in here, engravings in stone, and there's some information boards about it. These were also used as polishing stones for their spearheads, and they've left an indentation on some of these stones. People lived in huts along here, and there's one of the excavated foundation of the huts. It's about the chapel up above. The huts would have been like this. Looks like they had chickens. There's the foundation of where the little huts would have been. And then there's this really charming fishing village that you come through. For hundreds of years, people have harvested the seaweed along this coast. At first, women did it by hand, and it was used to fertilize the fields. Now, it's done mechanically, and this seaweed is used for pharmaceuticals and cosmetics today. You can see it drying underneath the plastic. Here's an original Roman-built fridge. And this seems to be a place where they store the markers of the trail. And here's some information about the Romans using this for a military road. Sometimes people ask me how I find my way. It would be difficult to not find your way. This trail is well marked, and I also have an app on my iPhone called Wise Pilgrim, which gives me an idea of places to stay. Here's some interesting yard art. There's some carvings in here that may date back to the Iron Age, which is probably 3,000 years ago, when people lived here and they carved spirals and small dimples in the rocks, although we don't know why or what it meant. Portugal also has the most fabulous tiles. I spent the night in a wonderful little bedroom that belonged to this couple. This is St. James the Pilgrim in a tile. Tonight I'm having dinner with other pilgrims I met, 2 South Koreans and a woman from the Czech Republic. In front of this house, there's a box to put in the bread and a box to put in the letters. And who should I meet again but Kyle and Susan from Yakima, Washington. This lovely Portuguese woman stopped to visit with me. This massive Portuguese fort is along the river that's the border of Spain. walking across the river. We look back at the fort, and I've now entered into Spain, into the town of Tui. I took a short detour to visit the town of Vigo. It's a famous Spanish city right on the river. And here's a memorial, and these are the anchors of some ships that were sunk by the English. Here are the cannons that they dug up from the bottom of this river. And you're looking down now at the original little castro, or the little original site where people built on the hillside to view the river. A local woman dresses in traditional pilgrim dress, and she offers food and drink for passing pilgrims, and who should come by but Kyle and Susan. This is Monica from St. Louis, Missouri, and these are other pilgrims I met on the trail that day. We were treated to drunken singing patrons at the restaurant last night. My final day of walking into Santiago, there is a house sided with the mussel shell. This is the big cathedral in Santiago that houses the bones of St. James, one of the apostles of Jesus Christ. When I got home, I made a summary of my watercolor diary. Thank you for joining me, Tyler Burgess, on another show of Walk With Me. We have been in Portugal, walking on the Way of St. James. I walked from Lisbon, Portugal to Santiago de Compostela, Spain, and flew home from there.